others as well.
So your computer should have the notification that I'm sharing something. So
Yeah.
yeah. So before I start, I just want to give a quick background of my ministry slash vocation slash profession, because some of you might ask, why is she discussing this? Why is she have the tools to get the information about what we discussed last Asia Converge? So I'm actually a registered nurse. I was practicing in the hospital when God called me to enter the seminary. I took pastoral counseling, and I've been doing counseling ministry since 2013 in Asian Theological Seminary. And with God's grace, I passed the board exam and a registered guidance counselor. And currently, I'm in AGST, if you're familiar with the consortium, Asia Graduate School of Theology, taking up I'm done with coursework, and I'm taking a Christian clinical psychotherapy, so doctoral program. But even though, ever since I was in graduate school, I have already practiced child and adolescent counseling. So most of my counseling focuses on adolescents. So this is something that is very near to my heart, because my thesis is about the role of faith in the premarital Christian premarital relationship among Christian adolescents. So this has been an ongoing research for me, uh, and ongoing learning process to me as well. So in the Asia Converge, there were two speakers, Pastor Rodel and of course Sir Bangbang, Pastor Bangbang. So they discussed these two slides here. I won't show the from slide 1 to the end, but this is just just for you to have the idea of what they discussed last Asia Converge. And I would like to start with Pastor Rudel's presentation about understanding youth challenges, specifically with this 6. So this is the only slide that I took, because of course he discussed each one. But I'm coming from the perspective of multi um, multidisciplinary approach, specifically contextualized to Filipino setting and church ministry here in the Philippines. Because I know Colin is here and Anika is here. This will also help you understand the Asia or the Filipino context of this research or survey that Pastor Rodel showed. But allow me to rearrange this, because actually, this 6 is can be classified in 3 parts. So I will discuss the 3. The first one is this. Cluster 1 is sexual ethics, addiction, ethical behavior, and family time. The second cluster is media-based value, and the last cluster is violence. So actually, sexual ethics, addiction, and ethical behavior, that's why I clustered into one. I would like to explain to you that there is already an existing research done by Ateneo uh, last 2009. And they titled the research Risk-Taking Behaviors Among Adolescents. Actually, this is a groundbreaking research, because here in the Philippines, adolescent health or adolescent study is not yet that fully appreciated. So when Ateneo released this research, it also helped not just actually the counseling or the teachers, but it also helped other fields in as a build-up research to depth. So this is actually the building block of most of it. This is the research. Actually, if you go to Ateneo website, you can have the abstract of it. But this is the title, Risk-Taking Among Filipino Adolescents, a Review with Implications of Research. So that's Alampay, Liwag, and De La Cruz, and that was 2009. So another research based on this risk-taking research or study is actually was done already by UNICEF. So UNICEF in 2011, just years after, but every 2 years or 3 years, I guess they update the report for children's situation. But if you will see adolescence and age of opportunity, they name it as an opportunity for everyone to do something about the challenges that youth actually have. The next one was released in 2014 with World Health Organization. So there are different organizations who are also doing their adolescent research. And of course, the most important is on the health side. And you cannot really take away the nurse in me, but of course, health is holistic, not just the physical health. But if you read the entire PDF of this, the report, there are a lot of challenges as well. And same, delinquency, substance abuse, and that report. So again, the risk-taking behaviors in the Filipino context was actually described in this research, and that's substance abuse, risk for sexual activity, or it says here in Pastor Rodel's report or presentation, sexual ethics and delinquency, and then in Pastor Rodel's presentation, it's ethical behavior. So it's related. So here in our context, this is the top three risk-taking behaviors among our young people. And I know you can think of a lot of your young people right now that falls under to this challenge. And that's okay because we're here to talk about how to really understand them. So if you hear the word adolescent, you will actually uh, read a lot in Google. So in 2008, a research was actually published, and it says there the marginal generation. The other one is Risk Takers by Ateneo Research. And in 2008 as well, the other word or term that they use is way to describe the teenager is developmental. So that means there are phases, there are seasons, there are levels that they have to go through before they can reach adulthood or young adulthood. So those are the terms that as youth workers, as youth staff, as we minister to the youth, we have to be aware of the terms because this will allow us to understand more what they're going through as uh, a generation. So another term that was used by most of researcher is confusing stage. So adolescent stage is a confusing stage, and this is where we actually see why is that some of my youth can adapt properly, why is that some of my youth cannot adapt properly or have maladaptive behavior. So teenagers tend to have different approaches, and the changes that's happening inside of them triggers whether they choose the maladaptive or adaptive. They can be consciously processed, but most of the time it's impulse. Later I'll explain why impulse. So it says here in one of the articles in the groundbreaking research I explained earlier in Ateneo, they said that it is critical to better understand risk-taking among Filipino youth as the resulting or as a basic knowledge, because this basic knowledge would be an effective system for intervention. So to better understand why they act like this or not act the way that we want them to act, and that's of course that's a struggle as youth workers or youth ministers, we have to know what does adolescence period means. So this part of the research is very important, especially to us in the youth society or in the youth ministry, because every adolescent has his or her own interpretation of that period. So this is something that we really need to uh, process. So next slide. I'm sorry, it's it's loading right now because it's raining here. um, so I think it's loading. Sorry. Do you see the slide right now? Sorry, it's actually happened. Wait, just a moment po. Let me just restart the sharing of the screen.
By the way,
Okay.
if the other guys have questions or comments, you can always place it in the chat. So that listen more to Micah. Go ahead, Micah.
Okay. I'm back. It's back. Okay, so the first way to understand the risk-taking behavior, remember we are in the cluster 1, is to understand the developmental changes among the adolescents. So when we say developmental, like we always say in Tagalog, anong development? When we try to update for what is happening, if we try to get updates from our team, we try to use that word in Filipino or in Tagalog na anong development. So this is like that. Development is more of what's happening, what's the next stage, what are they going through. And if you will see this, the first one, sorry, it sounds so technical, but I really need to use that. It's cognitive developmental phenomenon, or in lay, it's about brain development or brain maturation. So if you will see the picture that I use here, you will see that it's glowing. It has a lot of energy. If we use youth term, it has parang ano siya, bibo. The bibo brain or very energetic brain. And this is how we actually see a brain of an adolescent. So very important, if you Google adolescent research, if you Google why are the youth is acting like this, one part of the brain that will be fully discussed is the prefrontal cortex, or where our noo is, or forehead. So this is a very important part of the brain because the frontal lobe is where the judgment processes is coming, the decision making, reasoning, problem solving, impulse control, or emotional control. So if there are some of you who experience a bump or like an accident on the head here, you will really experience a dizziness because this is the part wherein decision making is very important. So the teenage brain is underdeveloped, and mostly this is the like imaging MRI result on how the brain of a adolescent look like. So if you will see it, it has a lot of colors. So meaning there are a lot of activity happening inside the teenage brain. So the reasoning ability is trying to develop. And it says here, adults can provide learning moments to strengthen this skill in the adolescent. So that's why if you ask your youth, stop doing that, it will take a while for them to realize. It will take a while, meaning 1 year after you already consume most of your energy, or 2 years, and they are keep on doing things because their reasoning, their processing is quite fast, as mas mabilis pa sa traffic sa Philippines. So that's why everything is impulse to them, emotions and all. So here I would like to point out, that's why I really highlight this, is the growing a grown-up brain. And you will see here in the part wherein I'll use my highlighter right now. Spotlight. Okay. So this red dot here is my cursor. So it says here the gray matter is pruned out, making the brain connection most specialized. So if you will see here, the adolescent brain, it has a lot of color. So meaning it's less dense, and there's a lot of neural firing. And here, this is an adult brain. It's more calm. You see, relaxing, very focused. But if you will compare it to here in the middle, you see my cursor, there's a lot going on. So I don't know if you can use the word neon lights party description of firing of the brain of the neural. This is what the adolescent look like. And as adult, this is our brain should suppose, I guess, all of our brain is to be here. It's more relaxed, it's more focused. We know how to prioritize. Whereas for an adolescent, this is something that's very hard to attain. So this is the biological cognitive maturation process. So what does it mean, Micah? So brain maturation poses that life in general requires us human beings to have formal and abstract thinking in order to face challenges. So that means we really need to have a matured brain for us to be more resilient and to really have adapt to problems and to the stress in life. So an equation is like this: the brain of an adolescent is still undergoing maturation versus the adolescent's driving force to they want to stand in their own feet. So physically, they may see that they are fully developed, but their brain is still undergoing maturation or growing process. So you can just imagine the tension in doing that. In thinking or in happening inside of them every day. So that's why the risk-taking behavior is actually higher to adolescent compared to the adult because of this equation or tension that is happening inside of them. So, another, aside from the brain, is the psychosocial. So, meaning you and the society, or you and the environment. And I won't discuss every level. I know for teachers or doing Sunday school, I know you are familiar with this in terms of doing your lessons. But I would like to focus on the fifth stage, wherein this is the part that's very crucial, which is this one here. If you see the red cursor, the identity versus role confusion. This is actually between 12 to 18 years old. This is the most crucial part. And I guess if you will sit right now and do inventory or demographic of your youth ministry or youth society right now, you would see that most of the numbers falls under to this category: identity versus role confusion. So in this stage, of course, it's very important for us to be aware that there is there is an independent drive. Their desire to get what career they want, the relationship they want, even the family. According to research, as young as 12, they're picturing or idealizing already what kind of family they want. So they also want to fit in. That's very important in identity and role confusion, because in here, in this stage, they want to learn what their role is in their society. So there's a picture here. Try to imagine your youth right now. They may be in the music ministry before COVID. And then after 8 months of being in lockdown, they will approach you and they may think that, Kuya, ate, I might not be in music ministry anymore. I might transfer to media. So this is a stage wherein they're trying to figure out. That's why there are masks here on the picture, because they want to use a specific mask or test that so that I will know where do I fit in, whether in church, in school, or in their neighborhood. So we have to be aware of this phenomena or this approach that they're doing in terms of this stage. So once they successfully go through to this stage, we're praying, of course, or hoping to really attain the virtue of fidelity slash commitment, because it's involved able to commit on oneself to others on the basis of accepting others even when there may be ideological differences. So this is a very important stage. We cannot really skip this, because this stage is actually learning or teaching them how to be committed, or how or what's their view of commitment. So this is where, if I use this material to youth, to the young people, this is where I actually invite them to reflect that as young as 12 to 18, you have to learn how to commit by making your bed, washing the dishes, because this is the stage wherein you're building up the commitment. And commitment is not learned in relationships, because what they're doing is they commit to relationships so that they will know what commitment is. So it's the opposite. So you really have to do it little things, household chores, before you really go to relationships. So this is, if they fail to understand this stage, this is the part wherein it's very dangerous or a red flag, because there will be role confusion. So imagine with me, you have youth that they will say yes today, but tomorrow you will expect they will try to say no, no, kuya, I cannot do it, sorry. So it's like they're switching from yes, no, maybe, I don't know. If you ask them what do you want to do, I don't know. uh, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. So it seems that they are in a lingo or in a swing, just going with the flow. Whatever is a fad or whatever is popular, then I'll go there. But if it's not popular anymore, I will not be on that group. So that is where the confusion is actually coming from, if they weren't be able to process this stage in the identity and role confusion. So once they're confused, this is where the experimentation begins. So when you say experimentation, they will try to explore a lot. And that is where, according to that research, risk-taking behavior is being uh, it's like a fertilizer, a very good soil for risk-taking behavior is experimentation, because they don't know how to commit, they don't know how to fully spend time in one task to another. So since they're experimenting, they want to try everything. So that's a very red flag to that. So that's the first one. So later I'll discuss the family time, because it also ties some of the concerns here. We go to the violence. I'll discuss number three first, but before number two, sorry, because this is very important. Because the violence or the suicide is actually building from teen depression. So teen depression is I won't discuss everything, to be honest, because teen depression is one more module or one more talk, and that will take more time. But I would like to open this up because recently another research made in Ateneo also, that explaining that the most or the top one source of teen depression is actually breakups. So as early as teens, they have experiencing breakups. So they call it devastating breakups. So a significant number of emerging adults, or what we call adolescents, seem to have suffered devastating breakups involving romantic partners with whom they thought they were seriously involved and probably path to marriage. So just imagine adolescent and then marriage, looking at that person. So this is what the result, and this is the part where really we need to you need to listen, because cut off of the relationship is actually mean they did not just lost a boyfriend or a girlfriend. What they have lost is actually an opportunity or a space for safe self disclosure. So before, adults think, okay, this adolescent is in a relationship because companionship, or maybe because of just to be famous. But actually, based on the research, uh, they interviewed a lot of adolescents, and for them, relationship is a space for safety, space that they can actually self-disclose, meaning they can talk about anything without being judged. And actually, I already handled a lot of depressed teens in this type of situation. And mostly, I really have to explain to the parents that commanding them to just cut off the relationship is not going to be healthy. Because what will happen if you abruptly cut the relationship, this will be activated. And if you will see, there will be no self-worth or low. And if there's absent self-worth, this is the vulnerable population, and this is the ground or the soil for suicide. So, coming from a counselor, I'm really explaining to you that uh, giving a rule if you found out that their youth has a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and just telling them to just stop it or cut it, you have to be careful on that one, because what if that is the only person keeping her safe? And if you take that away, that could actually escalate the situation to suicide ideation, self-harm, meaning cutting, and suicide. And most of the suicide that are successful are impulsive. So meaning either a gun here without any plan, or just drinking Sunrocks or Lysol, and they can be very impulsive, so they can think of a lot of ways to do that. So this is very, very important to consider. So that's something that you can actually reflect. So again, safe space for safe disclosure, because if the adolescent cannot find it in the family or in the community, then they will find it, or they will seek that to romantic relationship. So the question now is that I will leave to you in this equation: where is your church or your youth organization going to be? In the X side or in the check side? Are we providing safe space for them for self-disclosure, that it's okay to discuss things, it's okay to share things without being judged? Because they might be only longing for that and not even the relationship, just a space. So that's something that we're reflecting for our organization, youth organization. Another thing is the media-based values that was presented in in Pastor Rodel's presentation. I would like to add more terms that we use in counseling: digital addiction, or we call it substitute attachment. So substitute are like imitation. Like for example, you cannot afford a Louis Vuitton bag. You go to, here in the Philippines, we go to Green Hills and we buy what do you call that? Class B, class C. It looks like Louis Vuitton, but it's not original form. So same goes with digital addiction or social media. It looks like they are connected, but they're not. So that's how we use it: a substitute object or a substitute. And sadly to say, that family time, remember in the first slide, family time is one of the challenges. So they find surrogate parents in gadgets. So meaning, it's the gadget, it's the TV, it's the computer that's parenting them, not the parents, the actual parents at all. So I will introduce three phenomenon or lingo that they use. And this is the same as what I showed earlier: the love, the belongingness, the acceptance, the identity, since they cannot find it with real people or their real parents. So they will find substitute with gadgets or social media. That's why I think soon in the US, they will release the social media depression, because there are a lot of cases now who's having depression. A lot of young people having depression if they don't get a lot of likes, followers, subscribers for YouTube. And if you will notice, before the top three profession is lawyer, doctor, or teacher. Now the top one profession that they want, vlogger. So this is very, very important, because in blogging, subscriber meaning I am loved, I belong, I have identity, I have friends, digital friends. So it's becoming a substitute attachment for them. Whereas, of course, biblically speaking, we are invited to be part of a community, and that's part of our design to be relational as Imago Day. So that's something that we need to really think about. So what makes them so attached with gadget or social media is what we call FOMO, hashtag FOMO. So it means fear of missing out. If you will see the drawing, in their laptop, there are a lot of tabs trying to get information in all social media sites or website. So this is a phenomenon that makes people unhealthy obsessed with making right choices, or in making connection in all social media. So anxiety that an exciting or interesting event may occur currently maybe happening elsewhere, often aroused by posts seen on social media site. So recently, a 15-year-old girl was referred to me because she's having separation anxiety. So the parents thought that the separation anxiety is with them. But when they noticed that she's on the phone every day, they confiscated the phone. And to their surprise, what happened was their daughter suddenly had a panic attack. So this is actually one reason. She is so anxious that she might be losing or she might be missing something that is happening in their classmate, in the world, and she's having panic attack. So just imagine it escalated to a panic or anxiety attack. Another is FOBO, fear of better options. So this is the part wherein I will use Tagalog term. Ito po yung part wherein ang dami po nilang number. May Globe, may Smart, may Talk and Text. Lahat ng network meron sila and lahat po doon ay may ka-chat sila. Kung papantinin niyo po yan, if you're working in the youth, they have a lot of number, they have a lot of accounts, and they keep on chatting to everyone, especially if the uh, for the opposite sex, because they want to try. Maybe the one is in WhatsApp or maybe the one is in Viber and not to Globe. So that's how they see things. That's why they keep on chatting everyone because they want to have always the better option. So they cannot commit to one because they're afraid that it's not the better option. So this is the primary language is, am I making the optimal decision? And the other one is, this is very common, YOLO. You only live once, so why not experience it? Why not risk it? So that's why the risk-taking behavior is triggered because of this perspective now in the world that you only live once, so go ahead. It's okay. It's okay to just do it. So the danger here is that they don't seek God now for God's will, for God's leading. They don't have slow down or quiet time or devotion time to seek the will of God. But since I only live once, so I'll just do it. That's the problem. That's the red sign. So that's it. The discussion about the risk-taking behavior. I hope Kuya Alvan, I was in time naman po for 30 minutes. But I really tried to compress it in a way that you can actually apply it to your ministry and for us to reflect and ask hard questions because this is the most crucial stage in the development of our young people. So, yun po.
All
Kuya
right.
Alvan.
Thank you so much, Micah, for giving us that deep dive into behavior. I think yeah, at this point we still have a little time. So Evan here has a question. I don't know if you can answer this, Micah. How do we deal with the youth that is addicted to games?
Actually, last 2 weeks ago, someone asked me to speak about this, so I have a slide. But in terms of video game or addiction to online, we see it in the substitute attachment perspective. So meaning, if there's, because in the gaming community, there's actually encouragement. If you kill the enemy, your sense of worth, your sense of pride or confidence is actually being fed. So if the person is having no sense of confidence, that's actually one. But I'm not saying it's the only one. Number two, it could be a release of aggression because in our church is really not the perfect ideal type because I have a lot of youth who's actually an online game. But I know them one by one. And one of which is that he's having emotional suppression. So because in their home, he cannot express what he thinks. So what his body is trying to find ways to express aggression. So remember in studies, if a boy, specifically in a boy, I'm not trying to be sexist here or to be a gender biased person, but most of the study, if a guy, a boy, especially adolescent, does not have any space to express aggression, it will find it in a violent way. Smoking, marijuana, substance abuse, and digital, which is computer games, because it's actually sublimation. Because I'm not really killing a person. I'm killing a very fictional character. So it's okay to release the aggression there. So maybe that person who's attached to gaming has to address that aggression that is suppressed inside of him. And for now, kumbaga sa ngayon, ang alam niyang yung way, he only knows gaming as a way to express aggression. So actually, another research na recently lang po that I was able to get in touch is that for those people that's having aggression management problem, they can actually express it to kinetics or um, catharsis through movement. So either dance, sports, or anything that head to toe expression of emotion, because that's very important. If aggression itself is not evil or bad, but if the action that that the person used to express it will hurt, then that's the time it's very, very dangerous and very alarming. So I hope I answered in a quick way. But
Okay.
yeah, it's really a long and very
Yeah,
sensationalized issue.
thank you, Micah. And I really wish we had more time to answer
Yeah.
questions. In fact, a lot of people here, if you scan it, have asked